Hello, I'm Tara Shaw. Welcome to my home. I am so honored to be speaking to you today, the Decorative Arts Society of Orange County. You know, many of you might be familiar with my work, but I've been selling antique dealers and interior designers for over 2 decades. And you could have seen my work in magazines, or maybe you've seen the pieces, purchased from our warehouse. But what I want to really do is invite you into the world. Many of you might have already come into it in my showroom in New Orleans, and take you along the journey that has been such a joy of one-of-a-kind finds. The quest started for me over 2 decades ago when I was in the apparel industry, but I could purchase one nice piece of furniture a year. So I started really searching every magazine and shelter magazine, interior design book. I could not make a mistake, and I was trying to decide if I was French, if I was Italian, Swedish, Belgian. Country French was really big at that time. And even though I do love walnut, I didn't have an affinity for a room of brown wood. So the quest began. I went out looking for who I was in furniture. I went out looking for a desk because I had so much paperwork, and I ended up coming home with an armoire. That armoire anchored my living room, but now, it's moved all over my home and it resides in my cabana. I believe, when you're filling your home with one-of-a-kind finds, it just adds such a depth. It's a quest really for hidden treasure. I started my own importing business. I would go to Europe, ship containers back. I shipped in a 20-foot container, my first container, into a warehouse at the Port of New Orleans. I didn't know if people would show up. It was really word of mouth. I rolled up the roll-up door and everything sold in 10 minutes. It was at that point I felt like I was really a fish swimming in water. I had found my purpose, and it was really having to do with the love of beauty and sharing that with others. Veranda editors contacted me to see my warehouse. I was so excited to have them come to New Orleans. After the visit to the warehouse, they asked to see my home, which was my second Victorian that I had purchased in the city. The home made the cover of Veranda in 2000, and the warehouse was also an interior feature. The cover of Veranda slightly changed my career. I was contacted by Jill Goodacre and Harry Connick Jr., and they wanted to come over and spend some time with me. They convinced me that I should go to Connecticut and work on their home. I explained I was not a designer. I did not know if I had the bandwidth to spend 5 weeks in Europe and then also work on their home. But, frankly, those two can convince you to do absolutely anything. Connecticut was my first paying design job, and Emerald and Alden Lagasse followed with 3 homes. The last being a beautiful 7-story brownstone near Central Park. Always feather your nest with things that are meaningful to you. You should be able to read a great house just like a biography. My home I am currently living in made the cover of Veranda in 2015. I am so appreciative to the magazines that have supported my work. I have been in the trenches in Europe for many, many years, and I can spot a bad finish and incorrect carving at 50 paces. As I was flying home from a trip, I started meditating on a reproduction line of furniture that would have correct proportions and carvings, plus authentic finishes. Tara Shaw Maison was born in 2007 with 46 items in the middle of a recession, and to my surprise, it was instantly successful. The line grew to over 260 items, and I licensed a portion to Restoration Hardware in 2013. Several companies have featured the line, and I am forever thankful for any support. And without people actually talking about the line in the press, I don't believe it would have grown and then caught the attention of major companies. One of the reasons I started producing iron in the city of New Orleans, iron furnishings like canopy beds and tables and chairs, was I had been approached by an artisan that had been begging me really for work because had gone through Hurricane Katrina, and we really didn't have much work here in our small little city. So I started creating iron furniture here, and we still currently make those items in New Orleans. My canopy beds, maybe many of you have seen them in Architectural Digest or World of Interiors, or many of the other shelter magazines that have featured them.
Welcome to my office. This is Brother Luca. He's our 10-year-old whippet, and he's my best design assistant. I want to talk to you about collecting and how my first collection really evolved. My mother gave me a prehistoric scapula for my birthday present many, many years ago. And I was so excited. I thought, oh my gosh, it's a new pair of shoes, which is really what I wanted. But when I opened it up, she said one thing to me. She said, you might not appreciate this now, but you know what? It's really a piece of art. So I have to tell you, it took many years for me to really appreciate the scapula, but I want to introduce you to my collection in my office. So I have a collection of whale and shark prehistoric bones. And what I've done is I've mounted them on contemporary stands. I have a collection of old vellum books on subjects that really interest me, whether it's nature or scriptural writings. I have collections of boxes. So what I am always trying to talk about with clients is the love of a collection and finding out who you are through furnishings.
On my journey to finding out who I was through collecting, I really wish I had had a how-to book on furniture periods and styles. So included in my book, Soul of the Home, is a chapter called Starting an Antiques Collection. I go over periods and styles of my go-tos and when I use them, whether it's Louis XIII, Louis XIV, Louis XV, Louis XVI. I also talk about Empire, Swedish, Italian, and my love of mid-century incorporated in the design of homes. My home is only about 25 years old, and I fell in love with it. It was love at first sight as well when I saw it in the city of New Orleans on a sleepy little street near Audubon Park. What I did was I took this beautiful Haussmannian style exterior and I started layering in my love of European antiques in the interior. As you enter into the foyer, you'll see Venetian plaster and a monumental 24-arm Italian chandelier. Antiques show their age and history, blemishes and all. That kind of imperfection is a lovely thing to live with because it's just so forgiving. It's just what I want to come home to. So let's walk through my home.
This is my living room. One of the things I love to do in a room is to anchor it with a hero. My hero that started the whole conversation in my living room was this Louis XIV Chine armoire. It houses all of my media, which I love to see, closed away when I close those beautiful carved doors. The counterbalance to that is this mid-century Charlotte Perrinon chaise lounge. And then above my mantle, I have a 17th century Spanish mirror. The juxtaposition is a contemporary bronze sculpture. Now, I use a lot of contemporary seating. The seating is a French sofa, and then above it, the contemporary painting. The sconces that flank the painting are from Lucca, Italy. They are 18th century. And in front of the sofa is another hero for me. It is an 18th century altar table from Florence. I added a contemporary marble top to make it very functional. Now, right across from that, so we have open conversation here, is an 18th century Swedish day bed. You know, Brother Luca is named after Lucca, Italy. And he loves, we call this his home base. My husband loves to sleep on a day bed, you know, on the weekends. But I want to talk about the alcove area as well. We have the beautiful statue that was from southern France, a town possibly you might have visited, Ile-sur-Sorgue. But the table in the alcove area is heavily marquetried. The counterbalance to that are these beautiful Swedish mid-century Arne Norell chairs. You know, I love the mixture and the layers, 18th century, 19th century, contemporary, mid-century for a well-collected home.
My design philosophy has always been to seek out the one-of-a-kind pieces that speak to me and then edit, edit, edit. You have to pare things down to give your collected pieces the spotlight. Well, you know, I talked earlier about my home office and my collection where my mother had given me the pair of scapulas for my birthday. Well, in this home office, you're going to see my collection of books and prehistoric bones that I have collected over the years. But I just want to talk about a few of the layering pieces throughout my office. My table, my desk is really an 18th century dining table from Italy. It has a large candelabra from the 18th century as well to hide my computer. And then my secretary right behind my desk is an Italian scribon or secretary, really turn of the century, with a reliquary box placed on top for height. It's paired with mid-century, which is the chair and ottoman, and the little arrow side table, but there is that comfortable daybed, Louis Philippe daybed for brother to look out the window. You'll see my collections of boxes and books, whether it's vellum books that are on nature or my large collection of Voltaire or other books that I have acquired over the years. But I have tried to organize them in a way where they are edited to me. Although the office is filled with my personal collection, I have had to constantly edit down to distill really the things that are important to me and make those stand out. We're going to transition into my dining room. So the dining room is layered with pieces that are 18th century, which is the Italian console in the background, but it has a contemporary marble statue on top. The plaster mirror was an old mirror frame I'd found in Parma, Italy. The tabletop has vintage silver and chargers. This is just my edited tabletop. And then in the dining room, you're going to see the mixture of Swedish, which are the chairs, the Swedish dining table, the Swedish barrel chair, but of course there's the Italian chandelier that's hanging right below the silver leaf ceiling. The floors are a painted floor and deck paint, and then what I did on the walls was a fine paints of Europe high gloss paint. It makes my dining room my jewel box. One of the things I feel that really makes antiquity work in a space is using contemporary art, whether it's a sculpture that's on top of the Italian console, or it is the beautiful totems that lend a current vibe to that room. My formal dining room is anchored by a beautiful 18th century Swedish buffet decor. The wonderful thing is it houses a lot of my collection, so it makes it very easy to set the table. Across from the Swedish table is an 18th century Swedish bench that anchors the Garden of Gethsemane painting. You can see to the front door, and you'll see a de Medici plinth with a garden urn atop it. And you know, the wonderful thing about adding garden for me throughout the home is it feels so relaxed and comfortable when you add exterior elements to the interior.
Hi, I'm in my dining room and I want to talk about the pieces I've collected over the years that make a well-collected table read like my biography. So one of the things when I'm out at the déballages and fairs in Europe, I always look for is Monogram China. So this is a monogram piece of china and also a monogram charger. The thing is, I collect china, whether it has chips or the gilding is weathered. I take this at the end of a meal and I just put it in my dishwasher. Another thing I look for when I'm in the fields is silver, unusual silver or silver plate. This is a winged Victory I found in southwestern France. It's got a Q monogram on the back, and I mix it, you know, with other pieces. This is just a silver plate piece that I easily put in the dishwasher. So along with the table setting, we have an etched wine glass. It's really turn of the century, but I paired it with just a brand new water glass. I look for silver plated and silver wine buckets, serving pieces, cloches. This is a little silver plated cloche from Paris. The wonderful monogram platter underneath it is always tells a story. I also collect serving pieces. This is a lot of fun. We really use this at the holidays. The knife is marked Paris, so I believe in a functional table. I try and stay with pieces I can put in the dishwasher. You know, I'm not big on cleaning my silver, but I love that just well-weathered patina. Now, there are easy finds now. You can get monogram knife sets online, on auction. This is a gravy bowl that actually we've used it for flowers. So I love to be creative with the things that I find. One of the things I use a lot are toll trays. Now, you know, if you have an ottoman, this is wonderful for beverages and snacks. This next tray is Empire, and it has a lot of scratches, but it has beautiful Greek key. You know, I say embrace the history of a piece. I never refinish things. I bring them into my home and use them just like the prior family did. You know, I feel that my table reads like my biography. It has years of collecting, and I just want to inspire you to go get your china or crystal or whatever that you've inherited or purchased along the way to have a wonderful, festive dining experience.
My home is just about 24, 25 years old. One of the first things I did in my builder's kitchen, since it was good but not great, was I anchored the space with 18th century Italian lanterns. So they become the focal point of my new kitchen. I was fortunate enough to have a fireplace in that kitchen, and atop the fireplace is a beautiful urn made of weathered wood. My breakfast room is in that area, and I have an 18th century Swedish breakfast room table, and the current feel of that is to add the Italian Mario Bellini chairs and a white leather so it doesn't feel like a dated period film. The chandelier is Louis XIV. I still have this love of Swedish clocks and corner cabinets that anchor that space, but they provide excellent storage. The foyer on my second floor has a Swedish Rococo bench. As I have talked about earlier, is adding garden into the home, and it gives it such a relaxed feel. You know, this is probably one of the comments in the book that I have gotten the most feedback on. Give up on the idea that your interiors will ever be done. It's self-evident. Would you really think about it? Would you wear the same exact outfit for the rest of your life? And why would you want your house to? My bedroom is really my place that I retreat. You know, it's my quiet sanctuary. We have a furniture line, Terre Maison, where we still make all these beautiful iron beds in the city of New Orleans and other items. This is one of my beds. It's a two-tone, high gloss contemporary bed. But you know, I paired it with one of my favorite finds, an Empire Armoire in a beautiful burled walnut. The the seating that anchors the alcove is 18th century Swedish. Behind that is a plinth with a garden element. And you know, I have such a love for Savin roller chairs. You'll see them throughout my home. So those are the intimate seating with one of our lacquered coffee tables that's also in the line. Bedrooms are a retreat from the rest of the house and the world, and there's something incomparably comforting about canopy beds, instant, safe haven. One of the things that I always try to do is I incorporate antiquity with contemporary. There's the contemporary Maison two-tone bed, but to the left of it, you're going to see a beautiful Louis XVI commode with an 18th century Italian mirror over it. To the right of it is one of our side tables that we make in New Orleans, and above that are some of the products I make for restoration hardware. The foot of the bed is anchored with an 18th century Swedish bench. When I purchased the home, in my bathroom, we have a Jack and Jill. This is my bathroom. There was a built-in jacuzzi. That's one of the first things I wanted to eliminate. I took antique paneling from my warehouse and I made a little alcove for my soaking tub. And then right across from the soaking tub is my vanity. I created the vanity out of an 18th century Louis XVI console. I added a little mortar bowl that is also 18th century, put contemporary plumbing in the wall, added a Venetian mirror above it, and flanked it with contemporary sconces. When you have that much antiquity in your house, it's very important to add contemporary. From my downstairs foyer, when you look above it, you're going to see this hand-painted Porter Telio wallpaper that is a great backdrop to all the antiquity. What I love about Swedish antiquity, it is so relaxed and then sophisticated at the same time. This is a beautiful clock secretary that I use to anchor a guest bedroom. The bed is a 3/4 bed in Empire. The bedroom, when you work in guest bedrooms, I think that's the perfect place to use an antique bed, because how special is that to have a guest spend the night on a 3/4 bed. The two mirrors that are in the rear are not really pairs, but they are both 18th century Gustavian Trumeaus. There's a Louis XVI chaise. I just wanted to give the guests a place to do their own writing, reflecting, and relaxing. You know, I've used a lot of vintage and antiquity in the garden. So the tables that are al fresco dining are really a pair, and they have Belgian bluestone tops. And then you'll see the statue that I bought in Bordeaux that's made of a sandstone. And then the Louis XVI finials that flank the pool. So whether it's vintage, the gazing ball that my husband came with when I got married in 2007, to wonderful vintage European pieces. The front garden has vintage Greek jardinières that I typically find along the southern coast in France and Italy, but it also has limestone oval jardinières that I've purchased in Le Mans. You know, the elements that really anchor the space as you come in my front gate set the tone for the rest of my home. I think it's very important to incorporate the same exterior and interior elements so you have this layering of continuity throughout your home. As delectable as Victorian houses may look from the outside, they can sometimes be complex indoors. The challenge lies in creating fluid, functional spaces that feel vibrant and complement the house's original allure. This beautiful fairy book facade of the Victorian that's in the Garden District in New Orleans is very charming on the exterior, but the interior can be rather tricky. As you enter into the foyer, you have to go from the foyer to walk through the dining room just to enter into the kitchen. So it's really like a shotgun. Then on the right-hand side of the foyer are the double parlors. Although they were wonderful back in the 19th century with the way they entertained, they really don't work with our current living environment. So what we did was we tried to make the house feel as vibrant as the owners and their children were by using their vast art collection as the focal point and just supplementing around it with beautiful, rare antiquity. So in the foyer, as you enter in, there's the lively painting, but the balance to that are the Louis XIV heavily carved turquoise chairs that anchor that space, the Italian chandelier, the reliquary that almost looks like it's floating on the acrylic pedestal. As you look at the next photo, we have this beautiful Clementine Hunter vibrant paintings above an 18th century Italian console with a garden urn beneath it. The details that are in the collection are this gilded reliquary that's really the juxtaposition to the very stark contrast of the contemporary art to the right of it. And then you're going to see a close-up detail of the elaborate carving of those parlor chairs. When you look into the double parlor, the first view is that beautiful fireplace with the contemporary art above it. The sofa is an English sofa, and then there are some of my favorite 7 roller chairs. So it's the mixture of the new and the old. The paint I used here is Fine Paints of Europe in both the double parlors just to enliven the space. Now, this is the destination dining room. When I first entered the house, the dining room was really just a pass through, a walk through with no interest. What changed that was the use of Zubair wallpaper, that beautiful gray grisaille on the walls. So, I watch their company come now and literally stop in the dining room to take the view in. The chandelier is Italian, the chairs are directoire. It was just a beautiful mixture, and it made the shotgun actually be a destination. The key for the double parlor was to make it feel like one large room instead of the 19th century purpose. Now, I love seeing in the second half of the parlor the repetition of the forms of Hunt Sloan's painting, then with the contemporary bronze sculpture that looks like it has rabbit ears as well. On the detailed section, we focus on the art, but I want to talk about really the layering of the periods. There is 18th century Louis XV French in the decor. The chairs in front are Maison Jansen, which are really mid-century French chairs. It's the layering of the 18th century antiquity back with the mid-century and the contemporary, the marquee chairs that are 19th century with a current Missoni pillow makes it feel vibrant. The master bedroom is anchored by a very interesting Louis XV cornice that has been used as the canopy over the simple bed frame. The gilded detail in the room is an 18th century Italian Rococo mirror, and it's layered beautifully atop just the clean lines of an iron-based console. The design of this house with its surrounding gardens blurs the lines between outside and in. It's a sublime way to live. The entry foyer is a mixture of casual wicker and 18th century Italian. The 2 large ecclesiastical paintings were at the top of the stairwell, hidden from the main living area, and I immediately brought them down to anchor the main living room. The jumping off point of the living room was really when the clients said, "We are in love with your living room armoire," and so the hunt began. With the balance of French and modern, Swedish and mid-century, this family wanted a relaxed, current way to live with antiques. Garden antiques, especially those boasting plenty of patina, can make great indoor furnishings because they tend to have an important monumental scale and an exposed to the elements sensibility that's a tonic inside a home. The dining table is an example of the exterior furnishings inside. The 5 centimeter marble was added just for practicality. The chandelier is from Genoa and the cupboard is Swedish. The Italian fragment mirror over the Swedish bench is a very rich example of a one-of-a-kind find. The kitchen is the gathering point for the family, well collected and relaxed. Exterior dining with garden and arras chairs that are the end chairs are anchored perfectly under the wisteria pergola. The 18th century French running fountains that are on several sides of the home add such a layer of serenity. The love of French entertaining has added the key component to the well-blended exterior and interior lifestyle. A 30,000 square foot 5-bedroom home makes the best kind of canvas, an opportunity to compose a collection using storied pieces as building blocks to furnish in a distinct personality that will evolve over a lifetime. Upon entering the foyer, the 18th century Italian chandelier is hand-carved flowers and petals, which was really the link to the ceramic art installation. The home is a casual and elegant collection of European antiquity, like the large 18th century Spanish table that anchors the contemporary art on the living room back wall. The living room has a reclaimed Beaux Arts fireplace, Italian day bed, pair of 18th century European mirrors, and relaxed contemporary upholstery. Break the plan down and proceed room by room, piece by piece. Start with heroes, the memorable, worthy, and head-turning objects that strike a dramatic note, and then fill in around them, complementing or contrasting against them as you go. Vintage terracotta, the original patina on the 18th century candlesticks, the Italian day bed, the brutalist sculpture, garden jardinières that are weathered, or the detail on the Swedish dining table are all elements that started the family's collection from scratch. The family dining room has a contemporary Edelman chandelier that hovers above the 18th century Swedish dining table, Italian chairs mixed with French Louis XVI chairs, and the Swedish cupboard with the brutalist sculpture on top for height, all mix well together with no timeline and periods to hinder the pairings. Contemporary and antique sum up the parts of the guest bath. The 19th century mirror pairs well with a very contemporary marble top vanity. The foyer hallway is reminiscent of the European vaulted ceilings, and the pair of 18th century mirrors greet you as you enter the front door. An almost pair of lanterns are the focal point of the family bar seating in the kitchen. The master sitting room is also anchored with a reclaimed 19th century marble mantel and an 18th century Italian cherub frame that the clients had purchased a decade ago from me is truly the sign that collecting pieces that you love stand the test of time. The boudoir sitting room is a layering of vintage and contemporary with just a hint of antiquity. The master bedroom, with the request of a 9x9 custom bed so the entire family could snuggle together and watch television in bed, needed a grand Swedish 18th century bench to soften the room and also act as a counterpoint to the iron. I want to thank the Decorative Art Society of Orange County for inviting me to share my journey. I hope that you've enjoyed the journey as well. I commend you for the work that you do to provide grants that assist women, children, and families in Orange County.